What's going on, legend? Well, welcome back to Beyond the 90. And Leicester City have beaten Fiorentina in a pre-season friendly 2-0. So, I'm going to go into my thoughts. I've had to try and get as much down as possible because there's so many brilliant things to touch on during this game. I want to go through some of them one bit at a time. Overall thoughts. Um, I thought we were great. Genuinely thought we were really good. There were some people at the side down. There's some other bits I wanted to mention, the players that didn't feature. But I'm thoroughly impressed considering that Marti's only had 3 weeks, just less than 3 weeks, and he's producing this. Caveat, obviously, it's against a weaker for Fiorentina side. They just started their pre-season. Their manager has came in after Marti as well. But there is lots to be um, happy with this squad. So if we look at the initial lineup of what was happened before we get into it, but overall, yeah, really, really happy with how things were. Let's share the screen and I'll go through the initial setup. And so this is how we set up. Now you might have noticed, normally I do the 4-2-3-1, but now that I'm seeing more and more of Marti's football, I'm starting to see the players in certain positions. So this, I would say, this is the average formation that they played against Fiorentina. Fiorentina were pretty much tied in, pinned back for long periods of time. This was the starting lineup. So let's go through from the back, from the bottom to the top. So first of all, Hermansen. Really interesting to see that he's being picked. We've all talked about he's the kind of player that was probably going to be sold in the summer. Um, and his attitude looked really good. I think it was the injury that was holding him back from coming into the game. But I think overall in the squad, there is a good atmosphere, a good feeling. And I'll come on to the fans and stuff in just a second, how they took him from my perspective. Hermansen looked sharp in the first 15, 20 minutes. You can still see he's rusty, which you would expect. He's coming back from pre-season, and you can understand how he was using the system a bit more. So when Stolarczyk played, he played more in goal, like a standard goalkeeper, making saves, giving a little bit of passing. But we all know that Hermansen's better on the ball. So at times, he was actually coming quite high up. I think with Fiorentina pushing them back, the space was being cleared and Hermansen was sometimes getting the ball and playing a 1-2. What I saw quite nicely, there was some nice 1-2 with Samori and Akoli coming back to Hermansen. If anybody knows how the reminded me of the way that what was the Brighton manager? I forget what his name is now. Martinez, I want to say. Roberto Martinez. No, Roberto De Zerbi, that's it. De Zerbi I'm thinking of. He used to play quite a lot where the ball would come in from the centre backs to Hermansen or to the goalkeeper and ping, pam, 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 and then out to the wings and then we play forward. So Hermansen is better at that. But it looks like, from my gut feeling and just from the outside, that Hermansen's quite happy to be here. And if that's the case, my God, is he number one? He's not pushing a move out of the squad. If that was the case, and I think Marti is quite pragmatic and quite honest, there's certain players that have been left out of this squad, which I'm going to touch on in just a second, well, later on in the video, that I think potentially are who or are more likely to be contemplate moves out of the squad. But we saw quite a few. But looking at this initial starting lineup, I thought maybe before the even game kicked off, I looked at this and went, maybe Marti doesn't know his first starting 11. And that's right, because we've got so much quality. And as we saw as the game went on, yes, we didn't score any goals in the second half, but we saw the quality and the strength and depth in the squad. Now, we've got 46 games in this league. We're going to have to use them. So, coming into the back line, first player that I thought, do we need to play him? He's not impressed. Is probably, I'll be honest, Yannick Vestergaard. I was not impressed with him. It feels like he's regressing slightly. He's like 10% weaker than he was kind of last season or last time we were in the Premier League. Sorry, last time we were in the Championship, sorry. And now that Connor Cody is now gone, my opinion, good move all round. Another one off the wage list. Vestergaard did stand out as a bit of a weaker. Was he awful? No. But for me, there was elements that I would thinking, his pace. If we're going to play this formation, we play like a 3-2 at the same time. With again, this is in possession of the ball. When we get, for example, we can't win the ball back quickly, we'll push back into like a 4-4-2 kind of formation. But for this, we're going to play basically a back two, which will leave us exposed. Now, I don't trust Vestergaard enough to be honest with you, but there's lots of all to be positive about. He was 5 out of 10, 5.5 out of 10 in this game, and there was other players to be a lot more confident with. So let's go on to the other one, who I thought was up there in contender in terms of man of the match performance, and that's Okoli. I thought he was solid. I thought he was strong. I thought he was taking up positions later on in the game when we'll come on to it a little bit more. When Ben Nelson and Fast came on, Okoli was left on and pushed to right back. And we've seen a couple of times preseason, he's joining in with the attack and filling one of those channels. So the way that I've noticed a little bit more in this game compared to maybe just seeing Leicester a bit more, he wants, and the way that Guardiola used to play, he plays in a similar style. He wants one player in like each of the five channels. So somebody on the far left wing, somebody on the far right wing, somebody in the half spaces, and then you've got Ayew through the middle. But also he'll use Ayew to drop deep as well. So because of this, what I've noticed that sometimes that Okoli would also push up to this far right position or push up to this charge position to try and join in. Um, as a player, I thought he was solid. I thought he dealt with a lot of challenges well. His physicality is going to be so useful if we can keep hold of him. He's not one of the players that's really linked away with him, but I think he's more than great for the championship at the moment. Luke Thomas, is another player that I thought, okay, I'm surprised he's starting, but then after thinking about it, I'm not too surprised. I still think Justin is a better player in this position, but Marty really likes Thomas as a versatile player. He starts again as a left back. He can then push up into midfield, allowing the fullback, the fullback, the left winger to get on and move around. But also, I've saw him joining into midfield as well. So he's essentially playing like a traditional left back role, a left wing back role at times, an inverted left back, and at times I saw as well. He's also joining in with the attack. If, for example, El Canu stay behind and you've got one in each channel, you've got Thomas coming up here. So the amount of positions he's taking up is great, and Marty quite likes him. I personally think that James Justin would be a better player in this position, in my opinion, but I'm happy with Thomas. Speaking of James Justin, he wasn't even on the bench. I don't know if that's because there's been some rumours of him joining other clubs, but he wasn't featured at all in this game. But Luke Thomas, as a back line, I still think that Nelson, who I'll mention a little bit later, will be better place in terms of. So I'd play right over back three. So you've got Okoli, I'd play Fass, or I'd play Nelson ahead of this as well. But looking at this squad as a whole, I thought, and this initial starting lineup, I wasn't sure if Marty knew he had his best team. And that's a good thing because there's so much strength and depth that we've got at this moment in time. If this current squad stays by the end of the transfer window. So Thomas was, I think, was a good start and a good player, decent in this game as well. Didn't look out of place, and this Fiorentina side is probably the strongest side that I would say Cologne was slightly stronger than us, but overall it was still again in a decent position. We've got Chowdhury, who I thought was good. I thought he hassled the ball. I think the reason why he's in the squad is because of his physicality. Again, he was joining in similar on Thomas at this time. He was coming in. He was playing up here. He was chucking back at right back. Even though he's not his natural position, he is more of a physical central defensive midfielder. I think he did well. For some reason, we don't have Ricardo and Justin. I'm hoping that they aren't injuries or like long-term injuries, and they will just rest in Ricardo for this game because Ricardo is still great. Going forward, I would like to see Chowdhury given more of a role, less of a role in the team, if it means because I can't see him coming in at centre back, but he did sometimes chuck into the back three if we needed to, especially under attack. Then we had the back four. But yeah, Chowdhury I think did well considering the players he was playing against. What I found interesting as well is that something that we used to do a bit before, where we've seen in other games. I think it was Samore was the one dropping deep and coming to kind of splitting the defense a little bit. But because we've got Hermansen in the team, Samora was playing this kind of lone pivot, and Hermansen at sometimes was coming out, and especially when we were in possession of the ball, was playing as kind of the third person. The difference is when under Enzo, the ball used to go from Hansen to Vestergaard to maybe Thomas to back to Vestergaard to Manson to these kind of players. Now the ball is pinging and it's being played a lot quicker. There's a lot more one-touch football coming in instead of holding the ball, waiting for the right opportunity. We're almost creating our own opportunities. Now, the disadvantage of that is that we are going to lose the ball and we're going to concede from it. We are still very, very early days when it comes to Cifuentes' football, but I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing. Samore and Thomas, actually, coming to make a good point, are two of the only players that I believe didn't get substituted throughout the entire game. I think the three of them, I should say, two outfield players, I should say. Hermansen didn't get substituted as well. So it's interesting that they gave him full minutes. Now, I don't think they'd do that unless Hermansen was going to play a part of the season. Considering it's the first game ahead of if the Sheffield Wednesday game does go ahead, I think it's a really good start. But also, we all thought, let's be honest, that Solarchek was going to be the number one this season. If this is the case, and this is the squad that we're playing, and the fact that Hermansen didn't even get substituted for Solarchek, that is a really good sign. And oh my God, he's going to tear up the Championship, isn't he? We know he's Premier League quality, and the jump between Championship and Premier League is so vast. Maybe he's not going to pull up the squad. I'll speak to somebody from a few people from Denmark. A few people, one person from Denmark. Let me be honest, who said that with Schmeichel now coming towards the end of his career, they're looking at a number one. And I think there's a guy Jorgensen from Chelsea, and also there is Hermansen who wants that number one position. Both are quite similar players. Hermansen would want to try and be the Danish number one. With that, you're going to have to play game after game. So for me, I think this is something that will work in our favour, and hopefully we can keep him because my God, is he is an incredible keeper. If again he isn't going to be chosen, we will have to see about the next steps. But in general, I think it's only going to work in our benefit. That is the wrong screen. Hold on 1 second. Let's put this one in here. Is that one it? Nope. Bear with, caller, while I get this one up. Okay, let's go back to so anyway, the back four, I think they didn't really have a lot to do, but when they were called upon, the person that stand out for me the most probably was Okoli, and the next one was Okoli, and then Thomas. Vestergaard was all right, but if we're gonna have this squad for the rest of the season, we're gonna have to utilize him really over a period of time. There we go. Starts to work now. So the reason why I put him in this position is because I saw this is kind of how Marti wants to play. And this is the way that a lot of modern football is being changed, where you've got your five and you've got your five. So Samori was playing as a lone pivot. At times, either El Canous or Skip would drop in. More likely, it was Skip, but I also saw at times El Canous was dropping in to help out. Samori was good. My only thing is, and it's not indication on this game, he was physical, he was strong, he's going to look like a Yaya Toure in the Championship. My only problem is, for those of you that have watched Samori or know Samori for a long period of time, knows he can switch off, and I'm hoping that Marti won't let him do that, because in the lone position, this is something that he's got that nobody else can really do. It's his ability to then play the ball, to win the ball back, to turn over possession quickly, to be pacey and powerful, and to see good vision. There isn't really anybody like him in the squad. There is Winks, but I'll probably get onto that later. And Winks and Skip were actually played quite higher up. So Skip, who I said in the last one, last review I did, haven't been too impressed with him. I thought he was a lot better. And at times he was tucking in alongside Samore. But I saw him taking up these half-baited positions a lot more. Him and Fatawu linked up quite well when McAteer came on. That he linked up quite well as well. We'll come on to Fatawu in just a second, because we all know we're just saving that excellent. So we'll come on to it a little bit later. But Samore, yeah, I thought was good. Can he do that for 46 games? I'll be honest, probably not. We're going to see who can replay that position. What's they called? Regista, I think it's called, under Pep's system. As you know, your Rodri or Yaya Toure when he used to play for Man City. It's worth looking at Pep Guardiola because there are similarities, a lot of similarities. Just in the same way the similarities in Enzo and Guardiola as well. Who ironically Guardiola when he was playing in this position. So El Canoes just pulling the strings as usual. I think we saw some of the brilliance of him. But what I liked as well is that you could tell he's enjoying the football and he's enjoying this left-sided position a lot more. At times he was drifting in the last season, we were playing him out on the wing. He's drifted on the inside. And again, I don't think he was if we're going to play in this kind of position, we've got the destroyer and the person to turn over the game. I've got probably another destroyer in Akoli as well. El Canoes is going to be the creator. He's genuinely going to be the creator and the string puller who's going to be pulling the strings of these front five. And he looked great, popping up in all different positions, along the right, along the left, playing in people, lovely 1-2s, putting balls over. So I remember one time he put a ball over Patson Daka from deep, and immediately his thought was, how can I get this ball up to the strikers or up to the wingers and playing a long ball? I think he did really, really well. But without sounding too bad, we know what he's capable of, and he just kind of showed it in this game. Skip, as I mentioned, looked actually better than in previous games. I think I got Harry Winks a little bit wrong from the last review. I think that from Harry Winks, he did pull out of challenge a little bit. It was not as physical as I probably wanted. Skip at least give you the energy, but the problem is he's kind of a master of all, jack of trade, jack of all, but not master of none. Just like not amazing at anything. He's just an all rounder, and I think in a team that has lots of specialists, he might get a little bit lost. And that's not to try and criticize him too much. I think he was actually decent in this game. I think he was, say, a 6.5, 6.5 out of 10 in this game. El Canoes, we know what he's capable of. Mavididi, I want to mention because I thought Mavididi was great in this game. I think Mavididi will be overlooked because of how phenomenal Fatawu was. But I just want to give out shout out to Mavididi. His ability to get back to double up on a man, take on his man, go round. The amount of times he was creating opportunities around this, trying to bring other people in. I think he was great running a byline, trying to put a ball back, winning free kicks in really good positions, and he did give his fullback a bit of a run around. I really enjoyed Mavididi in this game, and what he brought to the game. Ayu, I think he's just looking like a really good player to try and bring in football. Again, he drops deep at times. He's got a really good relationship with other players. I think he runs himself into the ground for the team. And I think he's more than happy enough to be that starting number 9. And I'm not surprised that he started over Daka. We'll come on to Daka in just a bit. And for Tawu, I mean, we were all concerned, weren't we, over his injury? And I imagine if you've watched this, you've probably watched the second goal. I just stood there like this, my hands on the head, like, just going, oh, this is beautiful. The ball over the top, then I'll knock it past them. It wasn't just once. I think there was one time where Fatawu put it through the defender's legs, and the defender goes, "I'm not getting him," and just grabs his shirt and pulls, and the referee's like, "Yellow card, easy," and the crowd just like, "This is the Fatawu we know." There was part of us that were worried that, look, with an ACL injury, he might not come back the same. But at his young age, his mentality, and the fact that he's just so buoyant and jubilant, and just you know what I mean. If you watch his interviews, he just seems like a really likable, nice guy. That infects the crowd. It just give him the ball, and he'll do something with it. We've got phenomenal quality there, but also his ability to finish, the check in and go round that he did for his goal. That was beautiful. I remember seeing one against Bournemouth 2 years ago, and when we played against Bournemouth in the FA Cup or EFL Cup, can't remember which one, and he did a similar goal to that. But literally from the halfway line, for me, I put in my notes, that was like, if anybody remembers FIFA Street, that was like FIFA Street. I'll take on everybody. They just put one in top bins. Like, it was almost unbelievable. He was so good. Worked for the minutes. He only got a few minutes. I'm surprised he started because he's been using I've mentioned before Luke Thomas. He's been using McAteer a lot on that right in that preseason. But I'm really glad he got his start. He got 60 minutes under his belt, and you can see that we've still got strength and depth there. But he's gonna embarrass people. Remember how raw he was 2 years ago when we got him, and he was running at defenders. I remember there was one time where he hit the post in his first game. It was him and Yunus that came in, Yunus Akgun. And he looked just so raw, and that is just going to be channeled. And I think when we talk about young players and how Marti influences and helps young players express themselves, We think about your Mongers, your Jake Evans, your Aluko, etc. We've got to remember that Fatawu will be like having a new signing who's still a young player, and he will just be developed. So, yeah, just wanted to mention that. And coming back to the again, his way of playing, his link up play was great. His running back defending and his hard work, I think, is underrated as well. But yeah, I think he was man of the match in my opinion. But Mavididi is something I genuinely want to mention because I just all think it was real quality in this game. Then we've got Ayu, again, as mentioned, took his goal well. It was made from Fatawu harrying defender down this side. El Kanous then coming over and playing a beautiful ball. I think Skip must have, again, we're winning these balls high up in like the between here and here of the pitch of these two parts. That enables us to transition and quick. We've then got the players to win it back and finish it off. El Kanous came in and kind of did like a half. It was like a challenge trying to get across. It deflected off, and then Ayu's in the right position just to finish it off for the first goal. I've noticed that Ayu doesn't celebrate a lot, but yeah, really good. Really good display, and the crowd clapped him off. Now, before we get into the second half, I just want to mention the crowd, and there was a lot of empty seats, and I'll be honest, I understand why, just because of the way we were treated over the last year by the board, and I still think that's left a sour taste. But I would think that will be a lot more vocal when we start go on a period of losing streak. I will tell people stay with the team. The team are still learning. We are still very early days. There is something called if anybody knows, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Let's see if I can find that. So don't get too. Let me see if I can find it. Which is something slightly different, but let me just bring this one up. So it's a curve kind of like this where you've come, it's to do with confidence and knowledge. But anyway, so we've come here. I feel like we're at our peak now. We're going to win everything. We're going to come up. We're going to finish in the top two. There is going to be a time where, again, we are very early days. And I think this is naturally going to drop. I will say to you, when we get to this point, I'll still be like, look, back Marti. Marti's been great. There will be a time where we will get to this peak of trough where we won't win a game in like 5, 6, 7, 8 games. And we'll start making stupid mistakes. I'm saying we are towards this peak now. I think we'll be there the next few games of the season. Stay with the team when they go through this. But during that time, do not direct it towards the manager. It's not the manager's fault. Manager's incredible. And the backroom staff have done really well up to this point in time, considering the situation. That energy needs to be not dictated at the manager, it needs to be dictated at the board because they've not done a good enough job over the last couple of years. I think that's plain to see. Just thought I'd mention that. But anyway, coming back to when we talk about the football game, and I've really excited the way that the crowd got on side. There were little bits of moaning, especially when Vestergaard lost the ball, Luke Thomas lost the ball a little bit in the first 15, 10 minutes. And it was really interesting to see what they were trying to do with it. And I think the crowd were really happy. Compared to Enzo, which was a lot more slow, a lot more methodical and strategical, the way that Marti is playing is a lot quicker, a lot trying to pass the ball around, win the ball high up on the pitch, which I think the crowd really enjoys from an entertainment perspective, but also they can see people closing down. We love that at Leicester. We saw Jamie Vardy do it year after year after year. Less towards the end part of his career, his time at Leicester, but him playing that way was phenomenal, and I think he's really building that team spirit, and I think the fans are really behind him. Now let's go on to the second half. So if we come back, if I just get rid of this, and I come into the second half again, a similar formation, and the substitutes I think were interesting. So I've got them here. Yeah, I thought there was some really good stuff to mention in terms of the second half. I'm going to go towards the end because there were substitutions around 57. Fatawu came off for McAteer, which I don't think was too surprising. Let's be honest, Fatawu is still getting over the injury. We do need to be excited about him because we forgot how amazing he is. McAteer, again, I think did well. I think his harrying, his ability to get back, to push into the middle, to be physical, I think is really underrated in the team. I just want him to, I think I've said it before, be more brave. At times, there was a beautiful ball over. I can't remember who it was. I think it was El Kanous, and he got into this really good space over here. And their goalkeeper, Martinelli, was young, and you could tell he wasn't as confident on the ball. But McAteer went for the near post and went straight at the keeper. In ability, he needs to look at somebody like a Jamie Vardy and go far post, go with your other foot if you need to, and go towards there because that he could have had a couple more goals. Even though it's a 2-0 game, I think we could have scored more goals in this game. Um, but yeah, I'm not going to mention a couple of players that we mentioned already, like Hermansen, Thomas Fass, so Thomas Samore. Fass, I didn't really pay too much attention to. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to really comment on him. I was just so excited with some of the football that was being played as well. Nelson looked steady, well assured, and also he came on as mentioned later. He came on with Fass. We'll come on to Monger in a second. But Vestergaard and Chowdhury came off. Okoli went over to right back, and Nelson came into this right wing. This right centre back position. I thought he looked steady, confident, assured. His height and physicality has really improved. Maybe not his height, sorry, his physicality. And I think that year, even though it was an injury from going from Oxford, I think that's really helped him. And I'm so excited to see another player come into the squad. The problem is there's so much good young talent that we couldn't even get them all in the squad. I've mentioned other players later on that we haven't had. But yeah, so Nelson, I think, was assured. Aluko looked good. I know he looked a lot more. Looked a lot better against the what was it called when they did the split match, because he had more time on the ball. But what's great about them is that he can also play. He can drop into the middle. He can join up in defence. He can then also remember for one of the times he was popping up at left wing. He could play left wing or right wing. Sorry, left back or right back, and pop up in any position along the front line, which I think is why Marti quite likes him as well. But very attacking minded, thought was great. Winks looked a lot less lazy. Sorry, less lazy than he did. At times he would pull out a challenge as a Cologne. Maybe that I think it's Marti's getting the squad together and getting his identity, and he knows what he needs from them. At times he was dropping in deep, but at times he was almost playing up. And I remember when Daka was going over to chase somebody, Winks would also push up and go in and harry the squad and play a lot more forward. I think that Marty's said to them, if you're not running, if you don't put the effort in, you're not playing the game, which I think is a fair enough. So Winks, I don't have too much comment on, but I thought looked decent. I think he created a couple of opportunities for people. He played some really good balls. I think there was one bit about 80 minutes in where it was a lovely pass through from Winks, and Daka was here, and I think it was around here and here and here. Winks did a beautiful line breaking ball to Daka. Daka takes one of the worst first touches I've seen of a striker. Just bobbles out of it. So kind of like hits both of his legs like he doesn't know what he's doing, and runs into McAteer. And McAteer goes, "Do you know what? My turn to hit it." And it was pretty much an open goal at this point. And between Daka running into McAteer then just kind of falling over. I think he injured his shin a little bit, and the ball goes across. That just for me, that I wouldn't say sums up Daka, but I'm losing the faith with Daka a little bit. I want to back him. I want to believe in him, but if we can move him on and bring in another player, even like a Jake Evans, in my opinion, I know I didn't get any minutes in this game, I think could be a great player. But McAteer, coming back to it, Wink, sorry, great. I thought was really good. Page didn't really have too much of an opportunity. I would have loved to see Alves come on. I think this may be a bit greedy though, and going Alves. Let's see what we can do attacking wise, because I thought his link up with Monga. I think these three, Monka, if that's Alves and Aluko, would be really good to see them three link up. Let's go on to Monga. We've waxed lyrical. Every single Leicester City player has waxed lyrical at how brilliant Monga is, and I think rightfully so. However, in this game, he came up against a right back, especially in the second half, called Dodu, something like that, who who is experienced, who was measured, who was calm, controlled him, and Monga was still trying, knocking on the door, trying, but he didn't quite find the keys to really unlock. In games gone past in pre-season, we've seen him have the fullback on toast. He didn't quite do it in this one, and that's okay. He's learning. He's fit. For me, it's almost good that he's having this in pre-season, that he's not just going, yeah, I've got this. This is easy. He was still great in the game, but he didn't have that moment where you go, right, that's the Monga I know. and that is perfectly fine. He will get there, but this is a learning experience for him. I totally agree. I totally get that. But he's coming up against a really experienced player that I'll be honest, I haven't heard of. I just heard it in commentary. I was like, I looked at it, I was like, fair enough. Who's played a lot of games and got a lot of caps. So I wasn't too surprised with Monga suffering a little bit, but it's just all learning experience for somebody that's 16. He's going to take on this information, and with the right coach from Marti, he's going to play some great games. Um, Again, I mentioned pretty much everybody here. Um, Coming into overall, there was I'm really impressed with how we were paying as well. Again, Okoli came off at 82 minutes, Bilal came off at 82 minutes, so it's showing you that going into the next game, we can see who the main squad players are. Um, there's certain players I would keep majority of that the same that we played in the first half, but I would start substituting in, for example, if I've got the option of Chowdhury or Luko, I think Chowdhury at the right back. There's some really good stuff, I think, overall that we're playing. I think we managed. This is a Fiorentina team that, again, will start the season in a few weeks' time, and this is right at the beginning of their preseason. But we took them to them, and there's a few players, remember, that are in their squad, like Moise Kean, who used to play for Everton. Young up and coming talents, kind of getting into his like towards the middle of his career now. You've got somebody like Jekko, who was like, oh my God, not heard that name in years. Hey, um, so they have some decent squad and quality of squad, and we went to them. And the reason why I showed that formation when we went out is because in the first 10, 15 minutes, they started to come on to us. I was like, how do we deal with this? But the confidence came, and we're still so early on in these days, and there's so much that I'm forgetting about that I've not mentioned yet. But um, there was just so I tried to write down and go through as much as I could in the game. Just coming on to maybe not negatives or finish on negatives, but I just want to mention a couple of players that didn't feature at all. One of them, Koulibaly, who we've not seen at all in pre-season. And for me, it's not a good sign because if Van Nistelrooy, if Andy King, if then now Marti doesn't rate him, maybe he gets a loan out or he's not in a good position because he'd rather play Hamza Chowdhury ahead of him, you know? Wasn't even on the bench today. Ricardo wasn't on the bench. James Justin wasn't on the bench. Jake Evans, who was again really highly rated as well, didn't get any minutes. That could just be because we don't want to throw him in the deep end with this kind of thing. We want to bed him in slowly. But Jake Evans, I think, as mentioned before, can play as the middle of the front three as well, or can play on either wing, or can even play a cam, or like a drop deep striker. So it'll be interesting to see what if he gets a loan or if he stays here. Will Alves, I think, is the next player. I was surprised that Page came on against Alves ahead of Alves for the last 10 minutes. Um, because look how much talent we've got in this squad, especially youngsters that we've got. I mean, did he didn't get any minutes? There's been rumours of him not moving on to another team, but he was on the bench to get any minutes. Could we see him fitting in as the high eight? Not really with this squad and the way it's evolving. So I think he might be another high earner that's going. And then another player that I completely forgot about, D. Cordova Reed. Where's he been in preseason? We've seen a little bit of him, but in general, we've not seen that much. So yeah, with in terms of any particular parts, I'm really happy with the way it's developing. Now with Sheffield Wednesday coming up next week, I think we're in a really strong position. What we've achieved, and Marti deserves so much credit, and the players deserve a little bit of credit as well. Deserve credit as well for the way they've handled the situation. It's not been easy, and some of them not knowing if they're going to be here, if they're going to be sold. But I think now that we're coming towards the beginning of the season, a lot of them have to think, look, I'm going to be here for the rest of the season now. I'm not thinking about going off to go somewhere else. Maybe a loan towards the end of the season is something I was thinking. So I think with just this part, sorry, I was getting a phone call in the meantime. Um, I think that we're in a really strong position. There is still, remember, we're riding this wave and it's all really good. We still want board to make amendments. We still want certain things to be done. Um, but there's still really good quality, and I'm really impressed with how we've set up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you all in the next video. So goodbye.